Sure it gets to the encoder fine. Alright, I think we're streaming. Alright, now I need to watch for the microphone volume, which is down, so you turn it up. Alright, that's good. Alright, we're streaming. But rather from the sadistic mare that raced. Oy vey. Hey, Devil Dog Leader, what's up? Oh, good morning to everyone, by the way. Well, it's morning for me anyway, but I don't know for others. Some people, it's probably nighttime. Like for Jolly, I know that for a fact. It's like, towards the evening, like 5 o'clock or something like that. Hello Jolly Sunshine, hello Dick Loxo, or Laxo, I'm not sure. Welcome to another, this is an editing live stream, but I kind of call it a random stream because wow, I got that right, because you guys can have fun in the chat while I do the hard work. Now, you guys are probably going to cringe the hell out of this, especially you Brits out there, because this is part of the Sparrow Reeds stuff going on, which if you haven't seen the community post, go look at it, because the first edition for Sparrow Reeds will be going up on the 12th, I believe, which I don't know what day that is, I don't know what time that is, yeah. Hello Zachary. But this chapter is really, really interesting. Seeing I have to voice as Octavia, and we all know Octavia has an accent. So, yeah. It was a little hard for me to pull this off. But I started editing it a little bit last night, and then I'm like, I better not edit it so late. I might miss something or something like that. So, we're just gonna go through, get rid of the mistakes. You guys can chat with me and keep me company while we're doing this. I really hope you guys do learn something from this. Can you guys hear me okay? I've got the mic volume turned up as loud as it can possibly go. It's not too far from my face, so I should be okay. But yeah, this is just going to be me doing this kind of thing. That's gonna be the audio. Like, I'm doing a British accent, or trying anyway. There was a few times last night when I caught myself doing a Irish accent, because Irish accents and British are very close. So are Australian and sort of Scottish. So anyways. But rather from the sadistic mare that raised me as a tool instead of a daughter. Thus we come to my mother, Septima Melody. I better make sure I'm pronouncing that correct. I believe I am Septima, because any other pronunciation of it is, like, would only be Septima, and that wouldn't make any sense. Septima, that could be another pronunciation. So just give me a second. I'll try to... Okay, where's Google Translate? There you are. Okay, why? Alright, Septima. Not Deptima. Septima. There we go. Septima. Okay, is it the right definition? I'm not sure if it is or not.
Septima.
Septima. Well, in the case of the whatever you call it, accent, I think Septima is a good way to put it. I don't know. Maybe I'll re-record. I don't know. But rather from the sadistic mare that raised me as a Septima Melody. Septima Melody. Who's there? Show yourself. Zachary, what are you going on about? Okay, there's another thing I need to look at right here, to see if this is the right definition. because most of this is an Octavia based. Thank you for the donation, Devil Dog Leader. This is a Octavia based thing. So most, well, not based thing, but a chapter. Like, blech. Jeez. So most of the time, Octavia's family like has music related stuff. So sometimes it's pronounced differently. Septima meaning. Septima means seventh in Latin, sometimes used for a seventh child or seventh daughter, fits very well. It may also be spelled Septimia? Famous real-life people named Septima. Okay, so is that how you pronounce it? Oy vey. Well, Fujifilm, I think I made a oopsie already. And that ain't good. Let me see if I put a capitalization, if that makes a difference. Okay, I want to translate this not from English. Just hang on, guys. Just hang on. By the way, Sparrow9642, you are changing the narrator style to Sparrow Reads, are you? I mean, it's okay to make change. I'm kinda debating on it, but I don't think I'm going to. I think Sparrow Reads is just going to be an additional thing that's going to be like another reading series on the channel that's kind of done in a different style. Latin. Let's see what it sounds like in Latin.
Septima.
Septima. Septima. Septima. Septima. And this is where I'm kind of stuck. I don't know how the British would pronounce that. Would it be Septima, or would it be Septima, or would it be Septima? I mean, I don't know. British, there's a ton of ways to speak British, like Cockney. There's, what was the one that Mark said last night? Shit. It's like a more fancy way of speaking, like more of a posh kind of sound. Septima, like, that's how I'd put it. My mother, Septima Melody, but that doesn't sound right. Septima, Septima, Septima Melody. I don't know. I might have to fix that. Septima Melody. Whereas the rest of the Melody family had nothing but disdain for any pony who wasn't a unicorn or the princess herself, Septima Melody looked down on every pony. It didn't matter if they were earth ponies, Pegasi, or other unicorns. To her, they were all worthless than the dirt beneath her hooves, and she wasn't shy about showing it. Okay, I don't know. The only pony who okay. Like, if you guys are cringing at this, I am so sorry. Okay, that little click doesn't need to be there, so we can get rid of that nastiness. But Devil Dog Leader, thank you for the donation. Really means a lot, and it will be going to good purposes. How far of a gap is that? That's about holy shit, almost 3 seconds. Back this. I can't even talk with a British accent much due to my loose vocal cord problem. That could be a number of reasons. Than the dirt beneath her hooves, and she wasn't shy about showing it. The only pony who showed even a... Yep, that needs to be closer. Excuse me. And she wasn't shy about showing it. The only pony who showed even a modicum of respect for her was my father, and even then the love and tolerance between the two was as fragile as glass and just as Hold on. Respect for her was my father, and even then the love and tolerance between the two was as fragile as glass and just as transparent. Okay. Let me clean this up right here.
Respect for her was my father, and even then the love and tolerance between the two was as fragile as glass and just
Oh, hang on.
was my father, and even then the love and tolerance between the two was as fragile as glass and just as transparent.
Okay, get rid of that. Save. I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, this is... It technically wouldn't be my first time doing a British accent. I have been talking to British people for a long time, so you would think that I'd be used to this by now, but...
And even then, the love and tolerance between the two was as fragile as glass and just as transparent.
Hold on. Does that pause need to be there?
Between the two was as fragile as glass and just as transparent.
I wish YouTube would add an amount higher than $99.99. Wow, voice cracking. There should be a higher option. I've seen Lost streams sometimes go in the, I believe, like the 400s. Good grief.
Between the two was as fragile as glass and just as transparent. My father was another...
Wait a minute. What is the difference between the Grimdark and Darkfic? I mean, how do you narrate on the MLP fan? I mean, how do you narrate in the MLP on or in? I'm not sure. If that's a mistake, trust me, I make that mistake all the time. What I've learned, Zachary, is that you don't narrate a certain way. Now, for certain scenes, yes, you do narrate a certain way, like My Little Pony fanfic. I mean, how do you narrate on the how do you narrate My Little Pony fanfics? Also, what are what? What are what? All right. Well, the difference between Grimdarks and Darkfics, this is just where you have to kind of do your research. Grimdark is a type of horror, yes, but Grimdark is composed of a lot of layers of horror. Like, here's how I put Grimdark. Grimdark is like horror, but with many, many, many other layers to it. Like, there's moments of tragedy, there's moments of just plain fucked upness, there's just moments where you're dreading in your seat, crying, angry. You go through basically a mood swing, like a mixture of emotions, a flurry of emotions. So, yeah, that's basically the best way I can describe Grimdark. How some would describe Grimdark, or as how Lost and Scribbler put it sometimes, is, well, how they put it, was like this. Grimdark is a story with a ending that leaves you with the feeling of, like, hopelessness. Like, if it makes you feel hopeless and just completely empty on the inside, then it's Grimdark. Because it just left you feeling that way. And the other classification is that if it just has a completely screwed up ending and you're like, what the, you know, what are they? What in the world is that? I think I don't understand the word you're saying. I don't understand, honestly. Darkfics are more along the lines of, like, H.P. Lovecraft kind of stuff. Darkfics have dark elements to them, but not, like, completely dark to where they're making you feel like, oh, crap. Like, where they make you feel like, how do I put this? Like, to the point where they're making you feel like, you know, what the F is going on here? You know, a story like that is more considered a darkfic, in my opinion. It's like I recently made one Equestria Girls one. I'm actually doing an Equestria Girls one, my very first one. And yeah, it was more of a darkfic to me, even though it does have some messed up elements in it.
And just as transparent. My father was another
Hello, Arcanum. Welcome to the stream. If you are curious, I am doing... The reason why I'm speaking British here is because Octavia. So, there you go.
My father was another unicorn whose family had moved from Trottingham to Canterlot, and the
Okay. Hello, Andrea.
Canterlot, and the stallion carried the same prejudice.
Okay.
And the stallion carried the same prejudice and supremacist views of any other unicorn from that isolated town in the Griffish Isles.
Jesus Christ, that was a mouthful. Okay, did it only go to here?
And the
Yep.
And the stallion carried the same prejudice and supremacist views of any other unicorn from that isolated town in the Griffish Isles.
That is a lot of words to speak in one sentence.
Isles. My mother had gone back to Trottingham for...
Okay, so the question is, do I want to keep that breath in there?
My father was another unicorn whose family had moved from Trottingham to Canterlot, and the stallion carried the same prejudice and supremacist views of any other unicorn from that isolated town in the Griffish Isles. My mother had gone back to Trottingham for a time when she was young.
Okay, I think there was a mess up here anyways. The closest I've had to a grimdark is my most recent on FimFiction. I don't expect my content like Sparrows anytime soon. It takes time. It does take time to get used to it. Or not to get used to it, but to get to, you know, the level I'm at. I wouldn't even consider myself high quality, if that's the right word. Like, people that are in the... People that have, you know, quality content. The Last Narrator, Scribbler. Actually, hang on a second. Yeah, Scribbler's definitely got quality content. Scribbler, Lost... Goody, I'm not really sure about. Even Luna Pharaoh, someone who has less subs than me, actually has high quality content. If you guys haven't listened, they're not pop-ups, they're just notifications coming in late. So, if you guys haven't listened to Luna Pharaoh's reading of The Transparence Among, Adolesters, please go watch it. It's a fantastic reading. Excellent reading. Her and Cloud did such a good job.
Town in the Griffish Isles. My mother had gone back to Trottingham for a time when she was younger. Like, guys, I have done zero, I have zero knowledge on how the British accent works. And that's why, if it sounds cringy and it doesn't sound like an actual British accent, then that's why. Because I don't know the British accent all that well. I don't practice it very well. Now, Southern, I can do Southern just fine. Because I'm used to it. I've heard it around here in my place really much. Come on. Town in the Griffish Isles. My mother had gone back to Trottingham for a time when she was younger, and that was when she... My mother had gone back to Trottingham for a time when she was younger, and that was when she met my father, Capriccio.
Capriccio.
They both traveled back to Canterlot.
Okay, I got some cleaning up to do. Tinker Toy is the closest I've gotten to a Grimdark. That is fantastic, Arcanum. Just from that one chapter, you could have made a story. It's like it's got that vibe of like those 2-sentence horror stories, which I really find that unique. 2-sentence a horror story in 2 sentences would be amazing. Tinker Toy, closest to... Though I guess the moon presence at twilight would count in the broadest sense. It's more of a horror comedy, though. Sounds kind of like something like Goosebumps. Goosebumps was comedic horror. Well, in some cases, because there were certain ones that made me... Like, there were certain Goosebumps books. The first one that he ever wrote, The Haunted Mask. That thing had me not wearing a Halloween mask for a long time. Until I learned it was just fiction.
My mother had gone back to Trottingham for a time when she was younger, and that was when she met my father,
And that's when she met that father of mine. Oh, jeez.
I may have to redo Septima. Is it Septima or Septima? I know that the way that that my country pronounce it is Septima, but how would the British pronounce it? I need Mark. Mark would be able to help me out. Is he online? Let's find out. One hour ago, he's not online. Well, let me check Discord. Sometimes he has his messenger off. Wait, doesn't he have himself in Do Not Disturb? If he hasn't changed it since Sunday, nope, Saturday. Oh, hello there. Then yeah, he would still be in D&D. Are you online? We'll see if he answers.
My mother had gone back to Trottingham for a time when she was younger, and that was when she met my father, Capriccio.
Capriccio. Sounds so posh. The Woman of the Woods was the one I put more effort into, but I'm still not sure about it. The best way to the biggest amount of advice that I can give to any horror writer, you've just got to get experience from others. Take experience from others, and, you know, without plagiarizing their content, you can take inspiration from them. Like how I took inspiration from Magpie Pony's the friendship test in Chrysalis' Revenge. Well, I got to go now. Keep on editing. Alright, Zachary. We'll see you later. Have fun with whatever you're going to do.
Time when she was younger, and that was when she met my father, Capriccio.
I better double check on that one too. Like I said, I'm not used to this fancy shit. So, Septima. Okay. Capriccio. How do you spell that? Capriccio. Yeah, that's how you pronounce it. Or, don't pronounce it. What? English. Capriccio. So how did I say it here?
She met my father, Capriccio.
Yeah, that's right. Whoa. Well, I think your grimdark stories are the best that I have ever heard. They are really good. Thank you, Andrea. I really appreciate that. Oh, I missed Arcanums. The Moon Presence at Twilight is a fic I wrote for a while in which Twilight accidentally marries that name from the H.P. Lovecraft multiverse. What's up with all the multiverses?
She met my father, Capriccio. They both traveled.
Can I get that little click? Yes, I can. The thing is, Andrea, they're not my stories. They're just stories I read. So, and I won't lie, my older ones, yeah, the quality, they're bad. But they were the starting point, pretty much. Save project.
Capriccio. They both traveled back to Canterlot together and married after a few years, taking the Melody name in the taking the Melody family name in the process. Other than
Is that a pop?
No.
Taking the Melody family name in the process.
They both traveled back to Canterlot together and married after a few years, taking the Melody name in the
Okay. Because I actually didn't know what Octavia's full name was. I don't know if this is fan fiction based stuff, like fan based naming, or if this is her actual name. I mean, I don't know, I'd have to look that up. All we know her by is Octavia. And it's based off of octaves in music.
They both traveled back to Canterlot together and married after a few years, taking the Melody family name in the process. Other than Capriccio Melody, it is hard. Other than that,
I remember I messed up
Capriccio
here.
Melody is hard with. Other than that, Capriccio Melody is hard with. Fuck! Other than that, Capriccio Melody is hardly. Oh my god.
Yep, lost it there. Okay, I remember this was the good one. Alright, save.
Other than that, Capriccio Melody is hardly worth mentioning. Though I'd always wondered how. Oh, though I'd always wondered why he could fall for a mare like Septima Melody.
Septima.
Though I'd always wondered how he could fall for a mare like Though I'd always wondered how he could fall for a mare like Septima Melody.
Septima.
Maybe it really was different back when they.
I may have to redo that line regardless, and to do that I have to redo the setup. Oh my god. Oh boy, this is gonna be fun. Septima Melody.
Though I.
Wait, is Thomas online? I honestly have no idea. Do I even have him on Discord? He is online. We'll see what he says.
Though I'd always wondered how he could fall for a mare like Septima Melody. Maybe it really was different back when they had first met. Maybe they really had loved each other deeply then, but by the time.
See what I mean? It was kind of going Irish. For some reason, I kept going Irish. I don't know why, but I did. Maybe it's because I talked to Romance Writer, and she's Irish.
Oh god, she appears in the chat. I don't care about the audio quality, I just like listening to the narrations of the real bloody ones like Reborn and Bishop Lakers. When you have an ear for this stuff, yeah, the quality is really, it plays with you a lot.
He could fall for a mare like Septima Melody. Maybe it really was different back when they had first met. Maybe they really had.
What the hell was that? It could be a breath, because I noise reduct this to make sure that it sounds good. Okay. Sparrow's got a point. I was inspired to write Tinker Toy after reading Neckerman's Something Sweet to Bite. In my case, I plan to focus more on psychological horror as opposed to body horror. Yes, psychological horror is the best kind of grimdark. I love it.
Like.
That's why I love Silent Ponyville and Silent Hill.
Like Septima Melody. Maybe it really was different back when they had first met. Like Septima Melody. Maybe it really was different back when they had first met. Maybe they really had loved each other deeply then, but by the time I was born, the love had become as brittle as dried leaves. Still,
if you guys are wondering what the audio setup that I had here, it's something that anybody can do, honestly. This is a do-it-yourself kind of what they call a sound box. All you need is like a folding table that you basically use up camping or something like that. You need a folding table, a heavy blanket, a microphone, and a PC. That's all you need. If I can... I also noticed that you and Stephen King look very similar in the face. What? I have questions. Stephen King has a high lip. Stephen King has a very oversized top lip. Oh, cool. Thomas is online. Okay. Wanna join in a stream? I have a question. Okay. I also noticed that you and Stephen King... Okay, I read that one. Well, I did get the nickname Stephen King Jr. in high school. I got it in 11th grade. Yeah. Alright, Thomas is typing. Okay. Alright, so I gotta open Discord. So let's do that. Alright, so we will add Thomas in.
And loved each other deeply then, but by the time I was born, the love had become as brittle as dried leaves. Still,
That matches Octavia very well, too. Like, I know some stuff of British culture, but not that much. Like, certain aspects of the British ways. What? Whatever. You guys know what I mean. Stephen King and I look very similar in the face, apparently. How do we look similar? I'm confused. Hey, I wouldn't take offense to that. I do have the nickname. So, maybe I hold the look too? And the twisted mind? Hey, that would be kind of cool to me. Okay, let's add Thomas into the call. Or the call? What? Yeah, desktop audio's on. Alright. Okay, don't start video call, start voice call. Alright, let's see if Thomas enters. Thomas Metum, are you there? So we're just gonna wait for Thomas to do his thing. Hello.
What's up?
I've got a question for you, and I can't turn on my camera because I'm using it in the stream right now.
That's fine.
Okay. If you're not at the stream, go to the stream because I may need some help on certain things. How would you pronounce this in your accent? Please don't take that as racist. That term. How I would pronounce it is Septima, but I'm not sure how the British would pronounce it. And here's the thing, I'm reading a chapter as Octavia. So, yeah. And
I think it's Septima.
Septima? Please be right. Please.
You and me both. You and me both.
Like, how would you pronounce that? You're a British person, so you would know what to do.
I am, but I just never
seen
or heard that word for...
So I would pronounce it as Septima, like that. That's how I would pronounce it.
Tell me again how you pronounce it. Go on.
Well, for me, in my American accent, I would pronounce it Septima. Septima. But I think Septima seems more correct.
Yeah, I think it's Septima. Yeah, Septima.
Oh my god.
Yeah, welcome to the British accent, mate.
Okay, someone says I look like Stephen King in the face.
Well, what can you do?
I also like to make villains that aren't strictly evil, so Tinker is going to be a blast to write again. Arcanum, you and I kind of got the same view on villains. Villains, to me, just need a very good backstory, and they need reason, motive for what they do. You and Stephen King also take horror to the extreme, so there's another similarity. Didn't get the nickname Stephen King Jr. for nothing.
As dried leaves.
Yeah. Did he say I as well? As in I? And Stephen King?
Huh?
Did he say I and Stephen King have the same?
No, me. He's referring to me.
Oh, you. Okay, yeah.
That's why I said look at the stream, so you don't get confused.
Leaves.
Yeah.
Still,
so
my father
Septima.
despised me as much as the rest of my family.
Septima.
He chose to ignore me altogether. Leaves. Still, my father despised me as much as the rest
You
of
there?
my family. He chose to ignore me altogether, unlike my mother.
Skylar?
I can hear you. I can
Septima
hear you.
was the real problem.
Yeah.
That mare was the one who...
Septima.
I don't know how a British person would pronounce it. I would pronounce it Septima, but I think a British person, I don't know. That's hard for me to determine.
Mm.
It sounds more posh.
But that's how I would say it. I'd say Septima.
I don't
would
know.
say-
I would have to ask the author. But I think Septima is a better. But I have a feeling this is going to be a big character, considering how this chapter goes. Like, this chapter is kind of just Octavia breaking into the story for a second, but it's good. So Octavia basically doesn't like her mother, and she has good
Okay.
reason to. She has very good reason to.
Okay.
I
Giving her so much pressure on the cello or something like that.
keep listening and find out.
unlike my mother.
Okay.
Septima was the real problem. That mare was the one who made me what I had eventually become.
Septima.
I sound like a freak. See that right there? That sounds freaking Irish. God damn it, romance.
That mare was the one who made me what I had
the one that wrote
eventually
it?
become.
That mare was the one who would make me into what I'd eventually become.
That mare would. Yeah.
Yeah,
That mare made me what I eventually become. Yeah.
I knew that this was going to be a very challenging one because British. I'm not British. I'm American.
That mare was
Right,
the
what
one
you-
who
what you
made
should
me
do
what I had
is-
eventually become.
Look at
But
if you can find
But I tell this
the Octavia clip when she asked about the monster attack. Maybe you can learn from there.
No, I've got it. It's recorded. I just didn't really know if that's Septima or Septima was pronounced correctly or not. I don't know how the British would pronounce it. Hey, AJ. Try using the accent with your nose pinched. Oh my brother, Septima Melody. I can't hear myself, so I don't have one of those mics that you can just plug into the mic and hear yourself talking. Honestly, that would be very, very, very weird, in my opinion, because I would hear myself talking in my ears and I'd be like, oh god, that's gonna take some getting used to. Sparrow, have you ever watched Christine? Yes. One of my favorites by Stephen King.
That's the cars.
I could see that look. What? I could see that. I could. Oh god, I'm turning British now. I could see that looking. You asked Luna about. You asked Luna about speaking British. Working. I could see that working. You asked.
you could do.
Have I asked Luna about speaking British? No, I haven't, because I never thought I would have to do a whole
And plus,
chapter.
plus she's actually American anyway, so.
I never thought that I would be doing a chapter in a British accent. Heck, it was worth a shot. I mean, snot. What?
Septima was the real problem. That mare was the one who made me what I had eventually become. But I tell this tale to give what I...
Okay, that needs to be closer. Like, how does that sound to you, Thomas? You're British, so you know how to judge.
Yeah.
I did my best. I just went for it. Like, I just put my best effort in and did my best.
That mare was the one who made me
Well,
what I had
couldn't hear
eventually
anything at the
become.
moment.
But I tell this tale to give what I feel is some much needed insight rather than to simply place blame.
And there's a no squeak.
Say one of your lines again.
Are you on the string?
Yes.
Well,
I can hear you.
you're about to hear much more. What is this going to?
Septima Melody
Okay, it goes into her mother. And it was only when watching during the premiere that I'm still reading too fast. I haven't seen the premiere yet, or I haven't seen your video yet, so I'm not even aware of that yet, AJ. So I will take a look at it sooner or later, hopefully.
but I tell this tale to give what I feel is some much needed insight rather than to simply place blame. Septima Melody,
Like the kind of voice that I went for, because I'm used to doing posh voices. I just kind of put that in and added more of a thickness to it, like an accent. Oh god, here come the thick jokes.
Well, Octavia's posh anyway, so.
Well, she's posh, but she's also British. In the story, especially. She's from...
Well, she
isn't from...
she's British anyway, being from Trottingham.
She technically isn't from Trottingham in this. She's from a town just outside of Trottingham. So she's not full Trottingham, but she does have the accent.
insight rather
just
than
like
to
Ipswich.
simply place blame.
But not as.
Septima Melody was an
Yeah,
exceptional
Ipswich.
musician,
Oh,
perhaps the
this.
most talented no. Septima Melody was an exceptional. Septima Melody was an exceptional.
Exceptional.
Septima Melody was an exceptional musician, perhaps the most talented mayor.
You think that I would know the British accent by now by talking to you and Mark for God knows how many years now?
Yeah, yeah. But the thing is, you just know the words like mobile and football, and but you
And
just didn't actually speak to us like a British person.
wait, is this the fame of her fame? A puppet to her fame, you mean? No, it's not. Though we are getting together sometime. We've got this together. Sorry.
Every bloody time.
though we are getting together sometime to work on chapter 2, I will hold you Mike hostage if I have to. So what's the name of this story anyways? You'll find out on the 12th of this month.
Septima Melody
Name of
was
my
an
what? My
exceptional
character?
musician, perhaps the most talented mayor the Melody family had produced in several
So is
generations.
that the name of my character? Or...
With only a bit of practice,
your character?
she could play just about any instrument.
What do you mean?
You said I'll find out the name of this character by the 12th of this month.
I didn't say character, I said story.
Oh, right, okay.
Why me and grammar?
Why me?
Why me?
Why me?
Okay.
Sorry.
Hopefully that's not too loud on your like the chat's end. Let's see.
Was an exceptional
I can't hear
musician,
your background.
perhaps the
anyway.
most talented mayor the Melody
hear you.
family had produced in several generations. With only a bit of practice,
I hear something.
With-
right there.
Bad dog. Bad dog.
with only
Bad dog.
Okay, I can get it right there. Yep, got it. Okay, screw off.
several generations. With only a bit of practice, she could play just about any instrument with flawless she could play just about any instrument.
Okay. Also, I don't know if anybody else can hear that, but it sounds like there's like a... Like, it sounds like there's additional sound going over the audio, like there's some background noise. That is not my fault. I sit still. So, what you're hearing is my mouth noises. I don't know what the heck is causing it, but I don't know. My voice is weird.
With only a bit of practice,
I
she
can't
could
really
play
hear anything, really.
It kind of sounds like a moan or like a groan. It's you need to be wearing headphones in order to hear.
I am wearing headphones.
with only a bit of practice,
just can't
she
hear
could play
what
just
you're
about any
recording.
instrument with flawless precision, and a great number of the songs she composed.
That needs to have space. And I knew that last night. I realized when I did that line, I'm like, oh, that needs more space.
Flawless precision, and a great number of the songs she
Yep, definitely needs more space.
and a great
See?
any instrument with flawless precision, and a great number of the songs she composed were received by the masses as nothing short of brilliant. Naturally, all the
Yep, I can get rid of that. Okay, I don't need any of this. This is all garbage. Wait, what is all this?
naturally all the oh god, prodigious.
Oh yeah, this word. This word. Prodigious.
Prodigious.
Back.
Okay. Now you guys can see the struggle of being a narrator. Especially when you come across a word that you don't know very well. Oh my god, what the fuck happened?
Naturally, all the oh god, prodigious? Oh god damn it. I need to go back.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's prodigious.
Prodigious. Excuse me.
Lovely.
Prodigious.
That's not how you pronounce it, dummy.
I had it set to pronounce it in German, I think.
German.
Prodigious.
Prodigious.
Prodigious. Yeah, that was just a grammar mishap.
Hmm.
It's not that I don't know the word, it's just you want to be sure you're pronouncing it correct. Otherwise, yeah. It's like
Yeah, I don't know the word. I don't know the word either. So
It's like I'm still unsure about Septima or Septima. I'd have to ask the like to me if it's a name. And this is like a posh family or a very fancy family, very wealthy, very high chinned, pointy nosed. That sounds so wrong.
yeah,
basically-
it's stereotypical, but go on.
But basically, that's the thing I'm seeing here. If it's a fancy family, I think Septima would be a much more fitting, like, fancy name.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, right. Sorry for the mix-up. I can see two things coming out of this stream. One, you will have complete mastery of the British speaking style. Or two, you will have enough audio for 50 blooper reels. I already have enough for about 3 more than what I have already. Jesus Christ.
F-bombs
Naturally,
included.
all that prodigious
Okay. Let me make sure that's okay.
nothing short of brilliant. Naturally, all that prodigious talent
I thought your mum said
combined
that
with
she had
great
a
wealth
apple
and
bloom.
Yeah, my mom's talking about her cigarettes in the background. It's no big deal.
Apple blooms are
naturally,
not cigarettes.
all that prodigious talent combined with great wealth and the influence of the nobility made a mayor with bottomless pride and arrogance. Nope. Naturally,
Yeah, that was a little too fast for me. Oh god, that sounds wrong. Also, to those okay, before I say anything to the chat, have you guys seen the latest episode of season 9? I don't want to spoil anything if I don't have to. Or if I can avoid it.
That's all. Yeah. No, I haven't.
So Thomas, shh. Until I
I
get
haven't seen.
until I get confirmation so I can avoid spoilers. Because
all we know
because
is that it involves yaks because it's all yak.
no,
Right.
I mean Sunday or Saturday's episode. God.
Yeah, it's all yak. Yeah, yeah.
Not this Saturday, last Saturday.
Oh, the book ball one. Yeah.
Shh.
We've seen it.
Yes,
we've
but the chat may not have seen it. You gotta realize we're on a live stream.
naturally, all
Got
that
it.
prodigious
Okay. No spoilers. Gotcha.
You mean the line I don't Yep.
Yeah, I don't know
Yep.
what bucking is.
Yep.
You're hysterical on that one.
Yep. That's
But
the
that,
one.
yeah.
I just don't want. I haven't finished season. Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, Arcanum's like way behind the spectrum. Yeah, this was. Yeah, that line. I'm like, how the heck did that get past the editing stage? How?
Dunno.
I mean,
did.
when I heard that, okay, here's what happened. I not only went to the side like this, like with my hands in with my face in my hands. I went straight like that, and then I couldn't stop laughing because I was in a call with Thomas, this guy, and Mark, Mark, if you don't know, has a very like wheezy laugh. So,
Yeah, I know.
so while he's laughing, I'm trying so hard to compose myself and just pay attention, but I can't because
Yeah.
I'm laughing too hard. Oh my goodness.
Naturally,
Yeah,
all
you
that
miss
prodigious
out the other
talent,
jokes as well.
combined with great wealth and the influence of the
Yeah, that's the
nobility,
thing.
made for a mayor. Naturally, all that prodigious
But the thing
talent,
is, I
combined with
really
great wealth
love
and the influence
Clear
of the
Sky.
nobility,
She
made for a
was
mayor with
adorable. She was so cute.
Well, she was adorable, but so was the filly.
but-
they've already got a ton of memes on that child with her attitude as "don't even talk to me."
Well, she had the attitude of limestone.
Wait a minute.
And the style of marble. So that's
Yeah.
why I was saying that she was two characters in one. She
Yeah.
had two personalities.
Yeah, my channel's PG rated, not me though. Although my reaction to my friend's KC video, sleep with me, may have pushed that. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, or is he Mark? No, this is Thomas. Oh yeah, Mark, happy face, swats Mark with a newspaper. I'm back in Ponyville. Okay. But basically, yeah, that line, I'm like, hold up. Did he really just say what I think he said? Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Hasbro, you don't realize what you just did. You opened a can of worms that is just... it's just going to continue to just spread throughout the lewd part of the fandom. I can already see lewd art coming, I can already see comics coming, I can see fanfics coming already. Yeah, I see it already. I can foresee the future. I've been in this fandom long enough to know how it works and how long it'll take for these to come out. A comic, meh. It'll probably be about 3 days at the most. A week. Fan art, 1 day. Fanfics, 1 day. Maybe an hour at the most.
the nobility, made for a mare with bottomless pride and arrogance. Somehow, despite her horrendously haughty arrogance,
Yeah, I can't get rid of that. I may have to bring that a little closer.
But with Clear Sky,
arrogance.
she had that
Somehow,
sort of
despite her horrendously
silky look.
haughty
You know,
and
like when you watch Aladdin and you see Jasmine and her dress. It
Uh-huh.
had that sort of look. It was
Uh.
like, I'm so adorable, front angle, with my body, so silky. And it was like, that's so nice.
Okay, Thomas, do you actually know the whole dark truth behind Aladdin?
and arrogance.
Wow.
Somehow, despite her horrendously
thief,
haughty and sometimes downright cruel and vindictive disposition,
anyway.
the nobles still fawned over her.
Moving on!
They felt them
Was it Fond? Fond?
Seeing that Fluttershy and Pinkie Pie are the best blackball players in the world now. Whoops.
No, I know I pronounce this correct. It's just...
Yeah, Septima. Yeah.
No, not that. Got it. And I did a reaction on my channel to another friend's video, a romance story called "Sleep with Me." I couldn't hold back my dirty mind. Neither would I.
Okay.
Hasbro Entertainment is definitely hiding things from us. Indeed.
Yeah. Like, oh, I don't know, Spike's fake dad being Hugh Hefner.
Oh, there we go. Roaring success of show. Oh, wrong thing. Okay, that's...
Remember that bit?
Whoa. Hey ho. Nope.
Spike's fake dad being Hugh Hefner with his gown and lying awkwardly on Twilight's bed.
There it is. Somehow, despite her horrendously haughty and sometimes downright cruel and vindictive disposition, the nobles still fawned over her. Okay, it's not fawned like S or F-O-N-D. It's like, it's this spelling. F-A-W-N-E-D. Fond means basically, but
Basically what the girls in Beauty and the Beast behind it Gaston did. Pretty much. Same exact thing.
By cruel and
So that's
vindictive
fonding.
disposition, the nobles still fawned over her. They fell over themselves to get in her.
Of course. So basically, yeah, I can tell exactly what kind of pony Octavia's mother is. At least in this story. Other than that, we have no idea what Octavia's life is or her family. Even though there has been many fan dubs and all that stuff. And of course, I am Octavia.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The nobles still fawned over her. They fell over themselves to get in her good graces, did what they could to earn the closest seats during her concerts. And all
Yikes, I don't like that one. That was a bad one. Closest. Like, it honestly sounded like I was having trouble.
during her
Sung by Ellie
concerts.
Moody.
And all the while she
Monday.
devoured the attention like a ravenous timber wolf.
Timberwolf? Yeah, I remember I redid that. Okay.
Did what they could to earn the closest seats during her
I'll get you
concerts.
through it. But
And
you
all
have to
the
get past
while-
the Timberwolves.
Thomas, quiet for a second.
During her concerts. And all the while she devoured the attention like her good graces. Did what they could to earn the closest seats during her concerts. And all the while she devoured the attention.
That breath doesn't seem like bad by any means. But it kind of seems a little too long, so I'm going to get rid of it. Yeah, it just needs to be brought back a little bit. Fawn, to pamper and dote in a kind and affectionate way. Yep, pretty much. Or to give them flowers, or to try and get their attention, like what, what's his name? Featherbangs did to, Sugar Belle.
Sugarbell.
Or Justin Bieber Pony did to
Justin
Sugar
Bieber Pony.
Belle.
Yeah.
And before anybody
Yeah.
disagrees, it was confirmed. And who voices him? Vincent Tong.
Vincent Tong.
The guy
Well,
who
I'm gonna
voices all the characters we hate.
Except one.
Well, some we hate.
Except-
Some that we hate.
We don't hate Sandbar, do we? The student.
Sandbar
The
isn't
student.
bad.
student
Sandbar is like one of my least favorites of the Student Six, but my favorite. It's a mix between Smolder and what's her name? Oh, Fujifilm.
Silverstream.
No, Yona. I like all of the Student Six. They're all good.
Did what they
Yeah,
could
but-
to
but
earn the
mine's
closest seats during
smaller.
her
It has to be
concerts.
smaller.
And
I
all the
just love her
while she
attitude.
devoured the attention like a
why am I
ravenous
here?
timber.
Okay.
Did what they could to earn the closest seats during her concerts. And all the
Famous
while
last
she
words from
devoured the
Silver Spoon
attention
until
like
she
a
turns into
ravenous
dragon.
timber
And that
wolf.
was Smolder.
Timberwolf.
And all the while she devoured
Timber.
and all the
Timberwolf.
while
Yeah.
she devoured the attention ravenous timber wolf.
Oh, fucking hell. Okay, which one is the right one?
Ravenous timber wolf.
Right there. Okay, there it is. And all the while, she devoured their attention like a ravenous timber wolf. Okay.
And they're not from Minnesota.
Shut up. Good Lord Almighty.
And all the while
That's
she
fun.
devoured the attention like a ravenous timber wolf. And all the while she devoured and all the while she devoured the attention like a ravenous timber wolf.
Okay, got it. And all the while, she devoured the attention like a
And all the
ravenous,
while she
like a ravenous timber wolf. I ain't hit home, did I? Okay, good. Alright, save. They're hiding Spike's real parents, and we don't truly know where Pear Butter and Brightmec are. Devil Dog Leader, they're dead. Because when Apple Bloom says
That's
that
not confirmed, though.
when she says It was confirmed by Lauren Faust in season 3. So
I said there were travelers, though. She said that there were travelers, but
no, she said they were confirmed dead. Dead. And plus, when Apple Bloom says they left us something to remember them by, that means death.
And all the while, she devoured the attention.
There's some noise in there. Noise I don't like.
She
I can't tell if that is 2 of them, though. Yeah, there's 2 of them. Okay. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to get to the chat, but...
And all the while, she devoured the attention like a ravenous timber wolf. For my mother...
That wasn't bad. But, yeah, there's some noise in there I gotta get rid of. Okay. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
You're the weakest link. Goodbye.
Okay.
Like 10 years ago.
Spike's parents, I don't think, are going to be confirmed. Because
No.
I've read fanfics that could very well be darker than shit. Especially if Spike's egg has like the Aragon kind of effect, where only if the egg is near the one who's supposed to own own the dragon inside, only then does it hatch. Even though Twilight opened the egg thanks to magic.
But technically, he
Okay,
does
Mudbriar.
have a mother. He does have a mother, Twilight.
Technically,
Because
yes.
Who hatched him?
But
Twilight.
but the real parents that actually birthed the egg, I don't know. I don't think they're going to show that either. Who did the creepypasta Stable 17? Oh shoot! Of course you'd ask that. I'm not sure. I can't remember their name. I think it was the blue something to do with blue. But it was Fujifilm. I don't know. Bieber Pony wasn't fawning, he was peacocking.
Pardon?
What? I was talking about his 3 little lady friends that followed his every movement. My most favorite of the Student 6 are Smolder and Acellus. I like those 2 too. I'll have to look further into them then. Like the water horse. Huh? It depends on what we were talking about. I'm not sure what we were talking about.
Devoured the attention like a ravenous timber wolf. For my mother, life in Canterlot was a paradise.
Of course it was. Yeah, I can tell exactly what kind of character this is. I don't know if this was based off of anything to do with something sweet to bite. No, a puppet to her fame. I don't know. Because I've never listened to a puppet to her fame, nor have I ever read it. So, yeah. Still have to get to that.
For my mother, life in Canterlot was a paradise, but she wasn't without her enemies. There were other musicians, some other nobles,
Okay.
but mostly For my
stop.
mother, life in Canterlot was a paradise, but she wasn't without her enemies.
But she wasn't without her enemies.
Was a paradise, but she wasn't without her enemies. There were other musicians, some her enemies. There were other musicians, some other nobles,
knew Book
but
World would be
mostly
expanding.
commoners
I
who
knew it.
desperately
I
struggled
knew
their way
it.
to fame.
I could see it. Football season. I could see it.
But mostly commoners.
Okay.
Because
so I
Appaloosa
didn't-
had its like temporary stadium on their first game with Applejack and
Okay. Oh,
Ben
the stalker
Rainbow.
mares. Oh, the stalker mares were fawning. Yes, they were. I'll have to look I'll have to look further into Bright Mac and Pear Butter and the Water Horse was a movie where a kid found an egg and practically hatched it. Yeah, but the story I know, or story. Well, technically it is a story.
I'm a bro.
It was one of my favorite. It was one of my favorite series as a kid. The Inheritance Cycle, I think is what it was called. But yeah, Aragon, fantastic freaking book. The movie, it was okay. Definitely was nothing compared to the book. Because, first of all, Brom doesn't die by a spear through the heart by Durza while they were in Gilead. How he dies in the book is when they're in the, oh god, Haderach Desert. They're camping one night, and it's like pitch black. So the Razak, which are Durza's assistants, ambush them, and in the ambush, Brom gets killed. And then he's buried in the tomb of Crystal, I think is what it was. Something like that. So, that part of the fact is true. And he was a dragon rider, so yeah, that's true. But the way he dies, in the book, the Razak ambushed them in the Haderach Desert at night. So, yeah. And it was a much more heartfelt scene. Not like what was in the movie. Blah, blah, blah.
There were other musicians, some other nobles, but mostly commoners who desperately
Man, I really struggled with this line. But mostly commoners. Like, the first time I did it, like, very Blue Bloods, like, these commoners.
These commoners, these so-called commoners.
These, what do they call them? These mud ponies.
There were other musicians, some other nobles, but mostly commoners who desperately struggled their way to fame, only to...
Okay. I'll have to... Okay, nothing new. There is a interview, like, from way back in the day, where they actually interviewed Lauren Faust, and they asked her about the parents, because they hadn't been released, they haven't been revealed yet, but Rarity's parents were... That just weren't yet. They had to reveal Rarity's parents. I gotta look at my characters. Twilight, Rarity's, and Pinky's, I believe. Pinky's were revealed. I think that was all of them.
Fluttershy?
Fluttershy's weren't revealed until season 7. No.
Until, oh my
yeah,
God,
because
really?
7 was like the season of revealed parents. You sounded.
Oh man.
I sounded like this. I sounded like the sad tree for a moment. That wasn't the sad tree. That was the happy tree. Who dares to wake me from my slumber? Yeah, I remember recording for that. Oh my god, that was hilarious. Jeez.
There were other musicians, some other nobles, but mostly commoners who desperately struggled their way to fame, only to have their dreams crushed under hoof by Septima Melody.
A reference to Chris Rock.
Sometimes they were in the way of some selfish...
Really? Why?
There were other musicians, some other...
Okay, Thomas, quiet for a second.
There were other musicians, some other nobles, but mostly commoners who desperately struggled their way to fame, only to have their dreams crushed.
Yeah, I want to put a shut up right there.
To fame, only to have their dreams crushed under hoof by Septima Melody. Sometimes they were in the way of some selfish
I have been there before. Some asshole crushing the dreams of others. Yeah. Common cliche. But still good. I still want to know where Skulu's parents are. I think...
I don't think she has any.
I think going off of what we heard in... what was it? Parental Guidance. When she's talking to Rainbow Dash on the... at the Wonderbolts Academy.
Mm-hmm.
She's an orphan, guys.
She's an orphan, yeah, but...
They can't say it. They can't say it. Remember, Hasbro can't say these things.
But
they can hint. They can hint at it.
Hang on. They've released a series of books called Ponyville Mysteries, and it was said that Scootaloo has an auntie.
Okay, but here's my point. Look at
the lesbian aunts.
Look at the trading cards. The cards said that Rainbow Shine and oh god, what was his name? Rainbow Shine was her mother, and like Rainbow Blaze was her father. Those were her mother and father, according to the cards. Then we find out in season 7, nope, Bowhot Hoof and Windy Whistles are. So the
Yeah.
books are not canon to the series.
Have their dreams crushed
You
under
never know,
hoof
it
by
could happen.
Septima Melody. Sometimes they were in the way of some selfish ambition. Sometimes it was because of some perceived slight against her. And sometimes it was because my mother simply didn't like.
Yeah, I can get rid of the.
Some ponies will have to be lesbian soon.
Hold on.
It was because of some perceived slight against her. And sometimes it was because
I mean, the
it was
worst
because of
showing
some
it in
perceived
some
slight
episodes.
against her.
The
And
cruise
sometimes it was
ponies,
because my.
Can I get rid
The-
of this without making it sound bad? That's the question. Ooh,
those ponies in.
I don't know. I don't know.
Sire Hollow.
Some perceived
That were
slight
like
against
living
her.
together.
And sometimes it was
Thomas, quiet for a second.
some perceived slight against her. And sometimes it was because my mother.
Yeah.
Ooh, yikes. I don't know if I can get rid of that without sounding weird.
I mean, look at Lyra and Bonbon.
Okay, does this sound
Sometimes
bad?
it was because of some perceived
I don't know,
slight
I can't hear
against her.
anything.
And sometimes it was
That's gonna have to stay. Because it's normal to take a breath right here. Hasbro
Episodes-
loves to throw those things into episodes every now and then. Be it Pinky's frosting addiction or mental breakdown to Twilight's kindergarten PTSD moment. At this point, innuendos are coming.
I
Yep.
know, it's like that in every cartoon, really. It's
It-
been.
It's like people speculated back in what seasons? I think it had to do with Party of One. That people thought that Pinkie Pie was autistic.
and sometimes it was because my
Well, that was
mother
actually
simply
based on a
didn't like the
program called
pony or
Dinner
found it
for
amusing.
One, where an old woman outlives her friends and has the same dinner every New Year for the rest of her life with the same people who are dead. But instead of being a table with nobody there, she kind of based the people with a flower pot, rocks, bag of flour, cupcake.
Okay, quiet for a second.
And sometimes it was because my mother simply didn't like the pony or found it amusing.
Okay, I can get rid of that. Because we
Yeah,
don't
it's
like
based,
these little
it's based on
clicks.
Dinner for One.
Yeah, it is. What comes next?
Or found it
Same
amusing.
procedure as last
Whatever
year,
the
Miss
reason.
James.
Or found it amusing.
Same procedure as
Whatever
every
the
year,
reasons.
James.
Whatever her reasons.
Kill that cat!
Okay. Let's just do this. Hasbro is going to keep trying to hide reality from the show. I think they're doing a good job at hinting at it while not saying it directly. It's like it's like the thing with the Derpy situation. They were symbolizing Derpy as a disabled person. Like she couldn't do things normal, but she still did what she did. And I see that they're opening more up to allowing Derpy back in. Because she talked, for one, and actually had
Yeah.
dialogue. And
Yeah.
I've seen it slowly just becoming a common thing anymore.
She still bumps into things.
I apologize for background noise, by the way, guys.
Whatever her reasons,
Still
Septima
bumps
had
into
eventually
things.
become a monster in the eyes of many. She had become some.
Okay, let's get rid of that nastiness.
So what time's the stream starting?
The stream's on, dude.
Oh,
Eyes of many. She had become
Wait a minute.
eyes of many. She had become some pony that needed to be brought. She had become some pony that needed to be brought down.
I just
She
thought we were
needed,
talking to other people as well, but
she needed to be nerfed. Okay. Save. It seems like Derpy is blind in one eye. No, she's just got derped vision. And it was because of a rendering error.
and she's got she's got lazy eye actually.
No, not lazy eye.
In the eyes of many. She had become some pony that needed to be brought down. Some pony that needed to be taught
I want to see if there's anything in that little gap right there.
down. Some pony that needed to be taught a lesson in humility. My mother didn't see the consequences of her actions. Didn't see the hole she'd dug for herself.
Okay. Didn't see the dull she the dull. Oh my god, the hole she had dug for herself. Jesus. For one, I truly admire that they made Derpy who she was. That awkward moment
Yeah.
when you ask when the stream starts in the middle of a stream. Yeah.
My mother didn't see the consequences of her actions. Didn't see the hole
Well, you're
she'd
talking
dug
about
for
holes.
herself.
The hole that
She
Pinkie
couldn't.
Pie and
Hold on.
Of her
Applejack
actions.
and Rarity
Didn't
Dog
see
was
the-
like trench warfare.
Of her actions. Didn't see the hole
Digging up
she'd
the
dug for
trenches
herself.
First World War.
She couldn't.
Okay, I remember I messed up. Well, I didn't mess up here. I just couldn't find the right tone.
She couldn't. She couldn't. Completely.
Okay. Yeah, her mother was full of herself. Pretty much. That's
Who's
pretty.
mother?
That's pretty much what Octavia is saying here. Her mother was full of herself.
She couldn't. Completely wrapped up in her own world as she was. Like the villain in a. She couldn't. Completely wrapped up in. She couldn't. Completely wrapped up in her own world as she was. Like the villain.
There we go. Right on the dot.
She couldn't. Completely wrapped up in her own world as she was. Like the.
Okay, is that little peak right, or that little click right there part of it?
Couldn't. 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 Completely wrapped up in her own world.
Breaths are normal, but I don't like that click.
It's common when you're doing it.
Also, to those who don't know, I have a Patreon now, and if you would like to contribute, there's currently a $1 tier and a $10 tier and a $50 tier. You can contribute if you want. I'm not forcing you. And right now, I'm not fully on it yet, so I'm still kind of getting things, figured out. But it'll get there eventually. The reason why I started was mainly because, if you guys don't know, pretty much, yeah.
I have a question. The guy on County Cars that was on Pawn Stars, the guy that does the car,
Yeah?
what's his name?
The Count.
What's his real name?
I have no idea. Sorry, parents. Funny that Rarity and Applejack engaged in trench warfare when the Apples won the war. I guarantee that has to do with that one animation, how Applejack won the war. Never seen it. Sparrow, where does your OC live? He's a wanderer. His original hometown was Povania, which is kind of like a ponified version of Transylvania. But he's not Transylvanian. He's British. Or
Oh, really?
he's got an accent to his voice, like an old-fashioned kind of accent. So he originally lived in a place called Povania, and was an outcast. But now, after everything that happened in his life, he basically ran away. So now he kind of wanders Equestria.
She couldn't. Completely wrapped up in.
So he's a nomad, basically. But don't go near him. Otherwise, unless you want to be scared to death or you want to die.
She couldn't. Completely wrapped up in her own world as she was. Like the villain.
Clicks. I'm okay.
Well, if you look,
I swear.
if you're looking for a British actor, look.
I swear, I'm okay.
As she was. Like the villain in a
What's
play
that?
who thought themselves untouchable, she was consumed by her own hubris. And just like that,
I could be the voice of
and
your,
just like
of
that
your
villain,
OC, if you
that
want.
was.
I kind of sound like my Rarity voice normally. Like, I try not to do Rarity in a British tone, but it kind of fits. She's not British, she's posh. He's British, yet you
Well,
struggle.
yeah.
He's British, yet you struggle with a British accent. The paradox is strong with this one.
By her own hubris.
She's kind
And
of
just like that
Rarity's got this Shakespearean Victorian vibe in her voice. I think.
It's posh.
Yeah.
Best way to put it.
Luna is the Shakespearean.
I better make sure I said this correct. Hubris. If you say this any other way, it just sounds wrong. Hubris.
Luna.
Hubris. Hubris.
Okay, thank God. Jeez.
By her own hubris. And just like that villain. By her own hubris. And just by her own hubris. And just like that villain, that was her downfall. The end of her reign as one of the
End of her reign.
by her own hubris. And just like that villain, that was her downfall. And
Yeah, that can be silenced. The sound.
Sound of silence.
own hubris. And just like that
Ow.
own hubris.
Okay, quiet.
Own hubris. And just like that villain, that was her downfall. The end of her reign as one of the
Again, the breath is fine. It isn't anything that's against human nature.
and just like that villain, that was her downfall.
But it doesn't really fit. Yeah, I'm gonna get rid of that. Yeah, that's fine. Rip speakers.
Downfall. The end of her reign as one of the greatest
Yep, I remember this was where I messed up. Well, I didn't mess up. Again, tone. It was the tone.
the end of her reign as one of the greatest musicians alive today.
To die. That was
the end of her
Australian.
reign as one of the greatest
Good eye, mate.
the end of her reign as one
Christ.
of the greatest musicians alive today.
To die.
In Canterlot,
That's what I mean. It went from British to Australian to
the
Irish
end of her reign as one of the greatest musicians alive today.
to die.
In Canterlot,
Yep, I can get rid of that. I think we're good here.
in Canterlot,
Yes. Ah! No, not that close. Okay, so that'll just be a natural. Yep, about right there.
live today. In Canterlot, most ponies generally tend to trot everywhere on their own.
Like, I'm sure if Scribbler was listening to this, she'd be like, oh my god. I don't know if she's Cockney. I don't know if she's, like, your accent. I don't know if she's, Mark's accent. I don't know.
No,
Most-
she's from the Midlands.
Okay, that's part of the dialogue.
Most ponies
it's
generally tend
different.
to trot
Excuse me.
From Birmingham, sound like I'm from Birmingham. Brummies,
in Canterlot.
Birmingham.
Most ponies generally tend to trot everywhere on their own, unlike places like Baltimore or Manhattan, where coaches were the most common
So she's basically from the
where
middle
coaches
of
were
England.
the most common way to
Oh boy, can I get this?
The Midlands.
unlike places
Sorry,
like
Scribbler,
Baltimore
if you're
or
watching.
Manhattan, where coaches were the most
The
most ponies generally
be
tend
he as
to
well.
trot everywhere on their own, unlike places like Baltimore or Manhattan, where coaches were the most common
Potato.
okay, I need to
where coaches were the most
where coaches.
unlike places like Baltimore or Manhattan, where
Okay, right there. Yep, good. Alright, that's good. Alright, save. Save.
Manhattan, where coaches were the most common way to travel around the city. In the wealthier
And there's some
Latin,
noise in
where
there.
coaches were the most common way to travel around the city.
Screw off. No one likes you.
Common way to travel around the city. In the wealthier districts of Canterlot, however, it was a far more common.
Thomas, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, I'm just making sure that Discord didn't pull it stupid.
Yeah, I can do that.
In the wealthier districts of Canterlot, however,
My voice
it was a
connection
far
thing
more
is in-
common
well, it
practice
was in
to
amber,
hire a
but
personal
now it's
coach,
green.
especially if.
Hold on.
In the wealthier districts of Canterlot, however, it was a far more common practice to hire a personal coach, especially.
It was a far more common practice. Does my OC eat meat? No, he's a pony. So he doesn't eat meat. My OC lives in the darkest part of the Earthy Forest in an old Ursa cave and is cast out due to differences. Also, she has a major craving for meat and has no problem eating other ponies. So no, mine doesn't eat ponies. Only his like monstrous form Spawn does.
In the wealthier districts of Canterlot, however, it was a far more common practice to hire a personal coach, especially if said pony was traveling through the poor or middle-class districts.
I think I redid this. Looks like it.
Especially if said pony was traveling through the poor or middle-class street, or middle-class districts.
Oh, jeez.
My family was, especially if said pony was traveling through the poor or middle-class street, or middle-class districts.
Okay, I think there's a way that I can fix that so that a pop doesn't get in there. Okay, what is
Especially,
this? Especially.
especially,
Okay, so I can silence that. Because we don't
Sounds of silence.
because we don't need clicks in there.
especially if said pony was traveling through the poor or middle-class districts,
Wow. Or middle class districts.
or middle-class districts.
Okay. So I don't need this part right here, just this part.
Or middle-class or middle-class districts.
Let's see how that sounds. Okay, hopefully that sounds fine.
It was a far more common practice to hire a personal coach, especially if said pony was traveling through the. It was a far more common practice to hire a personal coach, especially.
Yeah, I can get rid of that. It was a far more common practice.
Far more common practice to hire a personal coach, especially if said pony was traveling through the poor or middle-class districts.
Much better. Alrighty, that's better. This is why I like to edit during the day, because, yeah, you're more awake. Like, by the time I got done with this last
Yeah.
night, I was like, yeah, I'm ready for bed.
I'm pancake. I mean, awake.
Alright, save. Do I need more coffee? No, I've got some.
Starlight might help you with that one. Gotcha.
Then in the equestrian universe, I would stay as far away from. Oh my god. What? Wayhona?
Or middle-class districts.
Winona?
My family was no different in this regard, and my mother often took a personal coach whenever she traveled to and from a concert. I should do that again.
Yep. That was a bad take. I went way too fast. That's one thing I found myself doing is normally when I start, I go too fast, and then as I get more into the story and start getting more fluent, I start
Yeah.
to get more, slow. I start to realize
yeah.
I'm going too fast, so I need to go slower.
Yeah.
My family was no different in this regard, and my mother often took
And I think that's what Lost was saying when she was doing that Lyrebird thing with Applejack and Rainbow Dash.
No, what she was doing was she was just speaking too fast for the program to catch the sentence very fluently.
My family was no different in this regard,
Applejack.
My family was no different in this regard, as my mother often took a personal coach where
A personal coach. Like,
Later.
Okay, all of the H's are silent. Well, I guess that. But W-A-E, I believe that is Y. Or way.
W-A-E.
Wayhona. All of the H's. Wayona.
Wayona.
I sound like I'm talking in a certain accent.
Wayona.
Sounds like Winona.
my family
Yeah.
was no different in this regard,
Wyoming.
as my mother often took a personal coach wherever she traveled to, whenever she traveled.
Yep, whenever she traveled to, not what, not, whatever.
Wherever she traveled.
Yep.
A personal coach whenever she traveled to and from a concert. It was
Common of the freaking rich to do. Especially back in those days because My Little Pony is not set in today. It's set back in like the days of medieval times. Like with the kings, queens.
Well, medieval, yeah, it's medieval.
It's the medieval days.
But with a bit of communism.
Let's just thank the Lord that torture methods and all that stuff are not included.
Ooh, can you imagine?
Oh boy.
Yeah.
different in this regard, as my mother often
What
took a
about the
personal
harsh
coach
prison
whenever she traveled
sentences, you know?
to and from
Feeding
a
them without
concert.
food
It was
and
on the
that.
way back from one of those
Leaving them to
concerts
starve.
late one night that her life
Chained
took a
up in the
turn
prison
for the
cell.
worst. She'd been playing
In the dungeons.
She'd been
Yeah.
playing with the rest of the Canterlot
That would have been
Philharmonic
Starlight's
Orchestra.
fate.
Oh boy, yeah, this was the hard one. Well, excuse me.
But instead, they chose a different method.
Let's teach Starlight how friendship really works.
Okay, save. Alright, let's see.
That her life took a turn for the worst. She'd been playing with the rest of the Canterlot Philharmonic Orchestra at the Great Celestial Theatre which was located near the south of what would be considered Canterlot's Middle District.
Too fast.
Which was located
That was way too fast. Okay, I don't know where I'm actually starting from.
She'd been playing with the rest of the Canterlot Philharmonic Orchestra at the Great Celestial Theatre which was located near the
Okay, I see a place where I need to add a little bit of pause.
She'd been playing with the rest of the Canterlot Philharmonic Orchestra at the Great Celestial Theatre
At the Great Central Theatre. Or Celestial. I wonder if that's a callback to Horseplay.
The
Or not.
Celestial Steed.
Was it Horseplay? Yeah, it was.
time for a new day in Equestria!
My main OC is a Kelpie. What the fudge? That became an alicorn by correcting a faulty spellbook. He lives in a library in an infinite void linked to fanfiction. It sounds like that sounds a lot like how Twilight became a princess. Because correcting a faulty spellbook, that sounds a lot like Star Scroll's spell. But that's completing a spell that not even one of the most what do you call them? Like one of the most legendary beings in a library. Yeah, Twilight still lived in the Golden Oak Library until it was destroyed the next season. You kill my books, I break your bones.
She'd been playing with the rest
my
of the Canterlot
tree, my
Philharmonic
favorite tree!
Orchestra at the Great Celestial
What if it
Theatre
was a pony?
All right, let's see if that was better.
Orchestra at the Great
What
Celestial
if Twilight's
Theatre,
library
which was
actually a
located near
pony?
No, because there's another pause. So let me just back that up. See if I can't get that a little closer
Remember
and sound
health and
better.
information?
Harmonic Orchestra at the Great
Black Death?
Celestial Theatre, which was located near the south of what would be
Blossom in the
considered
tree happens to
Canterlot's
become
middle
dead
class
ponies in the
district.
pond? Oh.
Naturally,
Ah, that was-
Septima's performance was
Ah, that was-
perfect, and the show was a roar.
Okay.
Ew.
I just hope this doesn't sound like cringy to people, especially the Brits, because I know how some people are. Oh, that doesn't sound like British. I know how people are.
its middle-class
No, I don't
district.
think that sounds British at all.
Naturally, Septima's performance was perfect, and the show was a roaring success.
Blast!
After the show,
Blast!
Was that one?
I'm sure if I talked to Scribbler more or watched her videos more often, I'd pick up on it, definitely. Like how Luna Farrow managed it to, like, convert her voice from American to just
American.
total British.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know how she did it, but she did it.
show was a roaring success.
Sort of works, actually.
After the show,
Okay, quiet.
show was a roaring success.
Okay, it's fine.
After the show,
Yeah,
my
how
mother
she managed
shook
to
off
pull
her
that
fans
off, it's
and
like,
separated
yeah, it's
herself
like,
from the rest of the
Are you
crowd
really
as she
American?
made her way back to her own personal
You
carriage.
did a really good job in that, Luna.
Drunk off all the praise and adoration,
Adoration? I believe I think that's pronounced correctly. Adoration? As in adorable. Adoration.
Admiration.
Adoration. It's adoration.
after the show,
Yeah,
my mother
sounds
shook
right,
off her
yeah.
fans and separated herself from the rest of the crowd as she
Adoration.
made her way back to her own personal
Ow, that hurt.
the crowd
Was
as
that
she
your
made
shot-
her
was
way
that your
back
elbow?
to her own personal carriage. Drunk off all the praise and adoration she received,
Farrah, was that your elbow?
drunk off all the praise and adoration she received, the mare didn't realize the pony pulling her coach wasn't the one who'd taken her to the theater.
To the theta.
Did you hit your elbow on your desk?
No, I hit my hand. Twilight fixed one spell. Arcanum edited an entire spellbook. The library was formed by the raw energy of the void itself to house himself in all the fan fictions he reviewed. Interesting.
Drunk off all the praise and adoration she received,
I better back that up, make sure it sounds fine. But the quality of the audio, oh my god, does it sound much better than before. Like, I'll play you guys a sample of what the first part sounds like. I may have to actually edit that to make it sound more equal to this. Because
Yeah.
it went from like deep and bassy to natural.
it was a far more common practice to hire a personal coach, especially if said pony was traveling through the poor or middle-class districts. My family was no different.
Also, to anybody else who has seen Avatar: Last Airbender, this sounds a lot like Ba Sing Se. Because if you remember, Ba Sing Se had multiple like walls within its, districts. It had places for the poor, the rich, the middle class, like the first class people, the second class, the third class, refugees. It had its own separate sections for certain people. Like most things back in those days.
or middle-class districts. My family was no different in this regard, and my mother often took a personal coach whenever she traveled to and from a concert. It was on the way back from one of those concerts late one night that her life took a turn for the worst. She'd been playing with the rest of the Canterlot Philharmonic Orchestra at the Great Celestial Theatre, which was located near the south of what would be considered Canterlot's middle-class district. Naturally, Septima's performance was perfect, and the show was a roaring success.
Okay, there doesn't need to be a pause right there, but I don't know. What do you go with? Do you go with natural or do you go with professional?
Performance was perfect, and the show was a roaring success.
I'll go with natural.
After the show, my mother shook off her fans and separated herself from the rest of the crowd as she made her way back to her own personal carriage. Drunk off all the praise and adoration she received, the mare didn't realize the pony pulling her coach wasn't the one who'd taken her to the theater. The mare didn't realize the pony pulling her coach wasn't the one who'd taken her to the theater.
Either's fine with me. I don't really care. Okay, so that would start right there.
The mare didn't realize the
Yeah, that one sounds like a Matt Breath, so let's do that. Sparrow, what Season 8 character is the most annoying in my opinion? Chancellor Naysay. Naysay. Or as I accidentally called him, the racist rapist.
What about Mudbriar?
I accidentally called him that. Like in the season opener, I was going to say that the fandom's going to be calling him a racist, and it came out rapist. I'm like, oh boy.
Yeah. Oh no.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god, I cannot believe I just said that. Like, I even backed up, like, oh wow. It was a total accident. Like, I did actually mean to say that, but it came out. It slipped right out of my mouth. Oh well, makes for a funny blooper.
Praise and adoration she received, the mare didn't realize the pony pulling her coach wasn't the one who'd
Also
taken her to
Mudbriar
the
as well.
theater.
Technically, it's a
Now,
snake. Shut up!
I don't
You
mind.
said
I don't mind about
Every
Briar.
time,
Now.
every word you say is technically.
Now.
Shut up!
now,
That was in Pinkie Pie's side
now,
of the
all of this was told to be
Wrong choice, Maud.
all of
wrong
this was
choice.
told now, all of this was told to me by my mother herself.
I think that's right.
Now, all of this was told to me by my mother herself.
Oh fuck.
I think of all the Maud Pie episodes, I think
I can't believe I didn't laugh at that.
that
Oh,
episode was the
boy.
worst one.
To the theater. Now, all of this was told to me by
Rockside-
my mother
no, it's not
herself,
Rockside Brain.
and this
Maud
part in
Couple, that's it.
particular was told
Hold up. Hold up.
mother herself, and this part in particular was
Okay, I can get rid of that breath. Yikes. Like, you guys know, I've been trying to get into doing, like, audiobook stuff. Well, I got curious, and I kind of searched around seeing, you know, does it have to be actual professional quality? It doesn't. I found people with worse quality than mine. Like this right here, this is clean compared to others' qualities.
now.
And this is with, like, XLR microphones we're talking.
Now, all of this was told to me by my mother herself, and this part in particular was told during one of her episodes, so the details here get a bit murky in my memory. From what I can remember,
I think I did a pretty good job here. I mean, it was challenging, yeah, but I think I did a pretty good job. I'm not British, and I think I pulled it off pretty good. Sounds very royal, like, sounded like, oh, I'm so posh and so royal and so rich.
murky in my memory. From what I can remember,
Keep up the
the
practice,
coach pony
honestly.
had somehow.
Hold up, there's a pause.
From what I can
I
remember,
think
the
what
coach-
you need to do as well is focus on rarity.
Shh.
You know,
from what I
listen
can,
to how she speaks.
Okay, quiet?
from what I can remember, the coach pony had somehow.
Yeah, that's fine, that's fine.
The coach pony had somehow managed to make its way to an abandoned.
Yeah, this line.
The coach pony had somehow managed to make its way to an abandoned. The coach pony had somehow managed to make its way to an abandoned street in one of the seedier neighborhoods of the poorer district without my mother's notice. Once she realized something
That
was
was
wrong,
a long fucking line. As you guys can see, that was a long freaking line.
the coach pony had somehow managed to make its way to an abandoned street in one of the seedier neighborhoods of the poorer district without my mother's notice.
There's got to be some pauses in here.
Somehow managed to make its way to an abandoned street in one of the seedier neighborhoods of the poorer district without my mother's notice.
Man, that is tough. I wonder if I can slow it down. I know I can, actually. Let me change the tempo on this. Let me see if I can't make this a little bit better.
From what I can remember,
That's
the
fine.
coach pony had somehow managed to make.
Okay, let me see if I can't slow that down a little bit so you can tell what I'm saying. I mean, you can. I think I can tell pretty well, but
The coach pony had somehow managed to make its way to an abandoned street in one of the
much better. So that's basically just slowing it down and making it better so that you can tell what I'm saying. I had a little fun with Romance losing her horn. Also, you have a good cranky doodle voice. I can't believe I lost my hair. Why, thank you. I appreciate that. Probably sounds more like Iron Will, but I don't know.
From what I can remember, the coach pony had somehow managed to make its
I
way
think it sounds
to
like
an
more like
abandoned
Iron Will.
street in one of the seedier neighborhoods of the poor district without my mother's notice.
Much better. Most annoying Season 8 character that I've seen was Mudbriar. Not the worst, but definitely the most annoying, though his entry episode can be used for an awesome drinking game. Take a shot every time he says technically.
Technically.
But, you know, that's part of his character, and that's what I agree, yeah, the technically thing is kind of annoying, but it's part of his
Every
character.
sentence he says.
It's part of his character, just like Maud. Maud has the dull voice. That's her thing. Or her thing with rocks. That's her thing. Pinkie Pie, she's crazy. She's a party pony
Piper.
that can break the fourth wall. Fluttershy has a more lower voice because she's shy. Rainbow Dash, raspy, tomboyish, for no reason
Well, if she had a
whatsoever.
lower voice, she'd be Flutter Guy.
It's like with the student six. Ocellus has a cute.
Mulder's the boy tomboy.
She has a cuter, more adorkable kind of voice.
From what
Mhm.
And God, I gotta think of them all now. Sandbar sounds more like to me, kind of
Flutter.
kind of
He sounds
along
like
the
a Flutter.
kind of along the lines like a Shining Armor kind of voice. Like he's kind of got that surfer
I said
accent
that,
kind
I
of
said
voice,
that.
but he still has his own personality. I gotta think here. Gallus, being a griffin, is going to be kind of unintentionally like rude sounding.
Kind of like Gilda.
Yeah, they're very rough and tough in their voices and really don't give it two craps. Smolder,
Yeah.
I had a hard time telling if it was a boy
Tomboy.
or I had a hard time telling if it was a boy or a girl. Then of
Same,
then of
same.
course comes What Lies Beneath, and you hear her more sweet tone of voice, and you're like, oh, it's a girl.
It's a girl, yeah. And how she comforted Spike as well. That was it.
Yona has the yak voice. Yona.
Yoda!
But she's sweet and kind and kind of a klutz. But she's sweet and kind and kind of reminds me of Fluttershy mostly. Who am I missing? Silverstream. Silverstream is the Pinkie Pie. Literally, she is.
The Pinkie Pie is Sequestria.
She's fun, adorkable, and really funny. I feel like I think I'm missing one of them.
I don't think so.
Yona, Ocellus, Sandbar,
Samba, Gallus, Samba.
Alice, and
I think that's it.
I can't remember. My brain's drawing a blank right now.
Hang on.
Sparrow, no, in your case. I can't believe I lost my horn! Hey Don, what's up? I think most people didn't like the condescending delivery of Mud's lines. Mud or Mudbriar's? Oh, Mudbriar's lines. It certainly left a bad impression on me, at least. He can be developed, I think, a little bit better, but we'll see. It's kind of like in the 200th episode, when Zephyr Breeze returned. I'm like, oh no. But that was actually Ball's wish for her character to have more interaction with Zephyr Breeze. I don't know why, but it makes for funny comedy, I guess.
From what I can
Was it
remember,
actually Ashley
the coach
Ball's
pony
request?
had somehow managed to make its way to an abandoned street in
'Cause
one
you know-
of the
you know
seedier
that
neighborhoods
Rainbow
of the poor
doesn't
district
really
without
have
my
the same
mother's
affection
notice.
for Zephyr, right?
Once she
So to anybody who's into audio, if you have a line where you feel like you're going a little too fast, use this little tool right. Well, I don't know if you can actually see it. But there's a tool underneath effect called change tempo. That will not affect your pitch. Otherwise, if you use the one that says change speed, that one will affect the pitch, and you'll sound either like a very deep voiced guy or a heavy chipmunk. Okay.
My mother's notice. Once she realized something was wrong, it was too late.
I remember I redid this one. Also, Dawn is British, so I don't know what her opinion is going to be of this.
Once she realized something was wrong, it was too late. She found her. Once she realized something was wrong, it was too late. She found herself ambushed.
Okay, right there.
Once she realized something was wrong, it was too late.
Is there really nothing right there?
Was wrong. It was too late. She found herself ambushed.
Now there is something right there that needs to go bye-bye. Baby bye-bye, bye-bye.
It was too late.
Okay,
She found
Backstreet Boys.
herself ambushed by a group of thugs and was dragged off to some dark alley to be beaten mercilessly. Among the many injuries she presumably sustained,
Sustained. Like I said, there's that Irish or Australian sound again. Sustained.
mercilessly. Among the many injuries she presumably sustained. Among the many injuries she
No?
Luna.
Among the many injuries she presumably
I
sustained,
think that's all of it.
the worst by far
That's all the mate shooting six.
Okay, hold on. Thomas, quiet for a second.
sustained. The worst by far was to
Okay, let me listen to that fully.
be beaten mercilessly. Among the many injuries she presumably sustained, the worst by far was to her horn.
Okay, that's fine. So that breath can stay.
The worst by far was to her horn. The thugs had snapped her horn clean. The thugs had snapped her horn clean off and left her to stew in her own tears, bile, and agony.
Perfect. Okay, where does that start?
The worst by far was to her horn. The thugs had snapped her horn clean.
The thugs had snapped her. Okay, right here. Okay, was this written before? No, it wasn't. So, I kind of wonder on this because it's about to say that unicorn horns grow back, but in the case of Tempest Shadow, her horn never grew back. I wonder if it might have damaged so many nerves that it never grew back normally.
The thugs had snapped her horn clean off and left her to stew in her own
Yeah,
tears.
it's not like
bi-
a disabled
Okay,
horn.
hold up. Let's separate these a little bit better.
snapped her horn clean off and left her to stew in her own tears, bile, and agony. The way Mother tells it,
Also, Dawn, if you're cringing, I am so sorry. But the thing is, I had to voice Octavia, who has a very strong British accent. So, yeah, this whole chapter is of her voice, so I had to voice her.
and agony. The way Mother tells it, I can only imagine how nightmarish an affair it must have been.
Hold up.
The way Mother tells it, I can only imagine how The way Mother tells it, I can only imagine how nightmarish an affair it must have been. Looking back,
Okay, so I didn't redo that. Okay, this is fine. This needs to go bye-bye, though. Baby, bye. God damn it.
Bye. Someone likes the Backstreet Boys.
No, it's just a popular song. I don't
I
mind them.
know, I know. It's like everybody. Backstreet's back. All right.
I don't mind them, honestly. I'm cringing, but no offense given. Don't worry. Yeah, I'm sorry, but I'm not very keen with doing British accents, so yeah, it's kind of difficult. Sparrow, what did you think of Castlemania? It's been a long time. So I'd have to rewatch it.
That's one of my favorite episodes of all time.
I'd have
ever.
to rewatch it to really give a solid opinion.
How nightmarish an affair it must have been.
As for
Looking
me, I
back
could
on
just
it,
watch it over
I
and
would have
over.
laughed if the
Okay.
Yes, that is such a brilliant episode.
looking back
Especially
on it.
Twilight's reaction
would have
on the books in the library. How could you not
Look-
find that
looking-
funny?
Okay, quiet.
Looking back on it, I would have laughed if the. Looking back on it, I would have laughed if the. I would have laughed if it were.
Okay.
Looking back on it, I would have laughed if the.
Renee!
I don't think that needs to be in there. Okay. Just get rid of that. Delete that.
I would have laughed if it weren't for the suspicions that I had about my own conception.
I guess if I don't find you,
Mother had
I'm
always
in by
been strangely
default,
light-lipped
right?
when it came. Mother had always been strangely light-lipped. No. Mother had always been strangely light-lipped when it came to that subject.
That was as best I thought it was gonna be. Okay, so that's where that ends apparently. Mother had always been tight-lipped.
Mother had always been strangely light-lipped when it
Oh, light-lipped.
I had about my own conception. Mother had always been strangely light-lipped when it came to that subject. Oh, how she... dreadful.
Oof.
When it came to that subject. Oh, she and my father would talk for ages about how I should have never been born, and how I was a blight on the otherwise perfect Melody family. But neither ever spoke.
Okay, that's good. I want to go through these gaps again just to make sure there's no clicks. I don't think there is.
Oh, she and my father would talk for ages about how I should have never been born, and how I was a blight on the otherwise perfect Melody family. But neither ever spoke.
Yep, there's a click. Well, not really a click, it's more of a lip smack. Yeah, that's good. Okay, you screw off. No one likes you.
Family. But neither ever spoke of how but neither ever spoke of how or why I was different from the rest. But neither ever spoke of how but neither ever spoke but neither ever spoke of how or why I was
Of how I...
of how, but neither ever spoke of how.
How the hell am I gonna do this?
Spoke of how or why I was different from the rest.
That ain't bad.
Spoke of how or why I was different from the rest.
But I want to give that a little bit more space. How or why, like that.
But neither ever spoke of how or why I was different from the rest. In any case,
Yeah, I had some trouble breathing. Well, it wasn't that I had trouble breathing, thank God.
In any case, the only other thing I remember about my mother, the only other thing I remember about,
Oh, jeez.
the only other thing I remember about what my mother told me was that she'd been left screaming for help for,
Ah, boy.
was that she'd,
Okay, I can just... That.
what my mother told me was that she'd been left screaming for help for at least a few hours before the city watch found her broken and weeping in that alleyway. It was a horrendous scandal that made its way. horrendous. Simply dreadful. In that alleyway. It was a horrendous scandal that made its way into every paper in Canterlot, and even a few in some of the larger cities in Equestria. And even a few in some of the larger cities in Equestria. And even a few in some of the larger cities in Equestria.
In Equestria, that's why we did that.
It was a horrendous scandal that made its way into every paper in Canterlot, and even a few in some of the larger cities in Equestria.
Okay. I think we're getting close to the end here. Okay.
This is the end.
The larger cities in Equestria. I eventually found out that a few members of my family had paid quite a hefty sum of bits.
I remember. I already did this.
I eventually found out that a few members of my family had paid quite a hefty sum of bits to certain important ponies. No. I eventually found out that...
Found out?
I eventually...
That's Irish. Sometimes the accent just went all over the place. Oh. Excuse you, belching at us. Did I belch? Did I belch? I am not sure if I did or
Yeah,
not.
you did. Yeah, you did. You did.
Also, how have you been? I've been decent, I guess you could say. I don't understand a matter of principles. Nobody does. I hated that episode so badly.
Plus, one of the students nearly died.
Also, we ought to catch up sometime. I'm up for that.
That was a funny noise.
Don't worry, I'm alright. Just stretch it.
It's good to stretch, isn't it?
That felt nice.
It's good to stretch.
Found out ye what? Ye wee twat? Oh,
That's
she.
Shakespearean, that.
Oh, she's impersonating a.
Shakespeare play.
No, not Shakespeare play, but Irish accent. Found out what? Found out ye wee twat.
I don't think that sounds Irish.
Well, I know it doesn't, but I try.
the sum of bits to certain important
That sounds
ponies to
nothing
have the
like Irish.
grittier details of the assault
Even
left
ask Romance, she'd
unpublished.
probably tell you.
I talk to Romance all the time, so I should know her accent by now, but she doesn't have a very strong Irish accent.
The sum of bits to certain important ponies to have the grittier
But she doesn't
details
talk to
of the
me.
assault left unpublished.
She was raped. Pretty much, that's what they're saying, right? That's what they're saying right here.
To certain important ponies to have the grittier details of the assault left unpublished.
Basically, you paid a large sum of bits to people, to ponies, certain ponies, like big ponies, to not have all the details, published. She was raped. That's pretty much what it's saying.
Dash.
Lovely. She was raped, she was sexually assaulted and beaten. She kinda deserved it, but I'm not like that.
Left unpublished. I never found out everything.
Why was I struggling so hard with this last night? I read it to Mark earlier, and he said I did okay. He said my British impersonation was actually not that bad.
Assault left unpublished.
Right.
I never found out everything assault left unpublished. I never found out everything about what happened, but I'm certain it was for the benefit of the family as a whole. As for what became of Septima, her horn grew back eventually.
Oh, this part. There's a fucking pop in there. Okay, just that. Like, I could just see Scripper like, oh, Sparrow.
Oh, Sparrow, for crying out loud.
I'm sorry.
As for what became of Septima, her horn grew back.
Oh, wait, there's the pop. Not the soda pop.
As a whole.
And Cocoa
As for what
Pops.
became of Septima, her horn grew back.
Also, Dawn, I need you to, sing your... I know you have a heavy British accent. How would you pronounce that word right there? Septima. In my accent, American, it's pronounced Septima. 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 Blah, 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 blah. Family is very wealthy, very, very wealthy. They're wealthy, they're very popular. Yeah.
As for what became of Septima, her horn grew back. Her horn.
I think it's.
Her horn grew back eventually.
I remember
as
that
all-
this one gave me
Her horn grew
fucking-
back eventually, as all unicorns do. Nope. Her horn grew back eventually, as all unicorns.
Did Kimmy ever do art of romance without her horn? I actually don't know. I'd have to ask Romance about... Blah, 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 blah. I'd have to ask Romance about that.
Her horn grew back
I
eventually,
used to joke
as
about
all
romance
unicorn
with
horns
Kimmy
do.
all the time.
Her horn. Nope. Her horn grew back eventually, as all unicorn horns do.
There we go. Ran the dot. Okay. That was fun.
Her
Yeah,
horn
th-
grew back eventually,
yeah, those
as
were the
all
days.
unicorn horns do. But on nope. Her horn grew back eventually, but as
Re.
her horn grew back eventually, as all unicorn horns do. But on nope. Her horn grew back eventually, but as fuck. Her horn grew back eventually, as all unicorn horns do.
I think that might be the right one.
Her horn grew back eventually, as all unicorn horns do. But until it healed, she was out of nope. Her horn grew back
Oh my god. I remember I struggled with one line like a bitch. Ugh.
Her horn grew back eventually, as all unicorn horns do. But until it healed, she was out of
Okay, that's the right one. Okay, and there is a little click in here, so we're just gonna get rid of that nastiness. It's spelled like this. No. Septima. Right there.
Her horn grew back eventually, as all unicorn horns do. But until it healed, she was out of commission for several days, and her musical skills suffered for it. Even after it healed, her flawless precision suffered for it. Even after it healed, her flawless precision and razor-sharp focus were never the same.
Slime.
She also offered
Slime? Croaky, mate.
her flawless precision and razor-sharp focus
Straight,
were
mate.
never the same.
What have you been drinking?
She also suffered mentally from the event and refused
What have
to
you
talk
been
to
drinking?
Okay, here we go. Boy.
even after it healed. Her flawless precision and razor-sharp focus were never the same.
Slime.
She also offered
She also offered. Huh?
She also suffered mentally from the event and refused to talk to any pony for several weeks after the incident.
Yeah, that screams right there exactly what happened to her. I mean, rape is something that basically leaves a mark on you. I believe it's pronounced Septima, because that sounds more royal sounding and more, wealthy. Like, more something that along the lines of what it's supposed to be. Okay.
Weeks after the incident. She spoke again after a period of time, but it was clear
Okay.
She spoke again after a period of time, but it was clear that
she... Okay. Let's get rid of all this nastiness.
She spoke again after a period of time, but it was clear that she had changed, and not for the better. She began to have horribly violent episodes. She would
Yeah, it got her pretty good. But she was kind of asking for it. Even though I don't think rape really was necessary.
An interlude is basically a break, like a break in music terminology. An interlude is like a break, taking a break from the performance. Like if you go to a performance, they'll perform what they need to perform, and then they will close the curtains. When they close the curtains and they take a small break to get everything ready, that's what they call an interlude.
and not for
Or
the better.
intermission.
She began to have horribly
Intermission, interlude.
and not for the better.
Yeah.
She began to have horribly violent episodes. Better. She began to have horribly violent
Just like
episodes.
Spike said when,
She would occasionally
when he
mo-
broke the projector. Just remember.
She began to have horribly violent episodes. She would occasionally mumble
intermission?
nonsensical things to herself when she thought she was alone. Over time, the sudden rages
Took time for her to heal, pretty much.
the
Okay, that could screw off. Also, Dawn, I do have a ponytone on my my thing now, my mobile device. So, yeah, I learned how to get it. It can't be downloaded as an app, but it can be set as like a bookmark.
she was alone. Over time, the sudden rages and incoherent babbling lessened, but never completely disappeared, even after I was born. For the most part, she seemed to revert back to her normal self. For the most part,
Okay, bring this back.
For the most part, she seemed to revert back to her normal self, at least in the eye of the public. At least
In the eye of the public, because that's what they see. This is why I wouldn't want to be famous. Like, and all up in, like, the paparazzi would be a pain in the ass,
at least in the eye of the public.
and this is what I mean.
A few
People see you as something like a toy, a tool.
She seemed to revert back to her normal self,
So, in other
at
words, you don't want
least
to be
in the
like
eye of the
Fuck. I'd say
it's
it
not that
more.
bad.
I'd say more as Septima or If I want to come across as more posh, I'd say it's Septima. Septima.
Septima.
See, and I think it would be Septima as well because it just seems more. I don't know. It just seems more like the right way to say it if you're of a like a wealthy family. I don't know. I'll ask the author about it and see what they say.
For the most part, she seemed to revert back to her normal self, at least in the eye of the public. A few things had
Yep. The public sees you as nothing more than a toy. Nothing more than a toy, a tool for their benefit. This is why I wouldn't want to be famous. You wanna be famous. Sorry.
eye of the public. A few things
If I was famous, I would want a private life. I wouldn't want anybody in my fucking business.
eye of the public. A few things had changed however. A few things had changed, however. Aside from the rage east in the eye of the public. A few things had changed A few things had changed
I don't know if I can get that. However. So I gotta get that part of the whole thing. I'm not sure where that's gonna be.
A few things had changed, however. A few things had changed, however.
Okay. I'm not sure where that actually starts. I think that's where it starts, right there. Okay.
A few things had changed, however. No. A few things had changed.
Changed. So that's the d right there. I need to zoom in for this. This is the best way to determine what audio you're selecting. Oh boy. This is going to be tricky.
A few things had changed, however. No. A few things had changed.
So.
A few things had changed, however. No. A few things had changed.
That's pretty close. Oh, geez, I don't mean to go back that far. Oh, no, 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 no. And I don't mean to go in that close. Jesus. That may be too close.
A few things had changed, however. Aside from the rages and babbling.
Okay, so that sounds fine to me. Oh, geez. Fucking hell, Thomas.
Sorry.
If I do this, does this affect anything?
A few things had changed, however. Aside...
Perfect. Yay!
A few things had changed, however. Aside from the rages and babbling. Nope.
Oh my Did I really just do all that work for nothing?
A few things changed, however.
A few things changed, however. Interesting.
A few things had...
She sounds too enthusiastic right there anyways.
A few things changed, however. Aside from the rages and babbling. She resumed writing...
Can nobody else hear that? Like it sounds like fart noises are going into the... are playing along with the narration. I mean, I don't know if you guys can hear that, but that's not my fault. I don't know what is causing that. I don't know what's causing it. Something is causing that, and I have no idea what it is. It might just be...
That's Paul Walker going by the way.
I think it's something to do with my voice. And if it's my voice, there's nothing I can do about that. That's just my voice.
A few things changed, however, aside from the rages and babbling. She resumed writing compositions, and while they were as beautifully written as they'd always been, she could no longer bring out the best in the music she played, and those who heard her play took notice. She played, and those who heard her play took notice.
That's a click. I don't want clicks. I don't want clicks. Yeah. Don't ask.
The best in the music she played, and those who heard her play took notice.
Yep. Your enemies will use it against you. Again, another reason why I want to be famous. Even though I am kind of famous in the Brony community, and I have faced some problems, I don't... Wow. The volume suddenly changes.
Took notice. Her popularity began to wane, but she still had just enough skill to remain a prominent figure in the society of classical musicians. Despite her reduced presence, however, she'd become some...
Okay, yeah, we're close to the end. We're getting very close. This wasn't a very long chapter. I remember that for a fact.
Classical musicians. Despite her reduced presence, however, she'd become somewhat calmer overall. More sedate.
Oh, I remember this one. This one was a pain in the ass.
Despite her reduced presence, however, she'd become somewhat calmer overall. More sedate, more measured in her attitude towards others. No. Despite her reduced presence, however, she'd become somewhat calmer.
Okay, let me...
Despite her reduced presence, however, she'd become somewhat calmer overall. Reduced presence, however, she'd become somewhat calmer overall. more sedate, more measured in her mind, more sedate,
Yeah, voice crack. Did you hear that? Did you hear that?
I can see a rainbow.
I didn't say did you see that? I said did you hear that?
overall, more sedate, more measured in her mind, more sedate, more sedate, more measured in her attitude towards others,
I wasn't sure how to do this tone.
more sedate, more measured in her attitude towards others. If one paid close enough attention,
Okay. Thank you, Mom. Thank you for the insight.
Daytona.
Thank you for the insight on
calmer
Daytona.
overall, more
Daytona,
sedate,
NASCAR
more measured
circuit.
in her attitude towards others,
Hold up, is that a click?
calmer overall, more sedate, more
Yep, it
It
actually.
is. It's that's one of the worst films I've ever seen in my life.
Yep, that's a click. Oh, come on. Really? Yeah, it was a pretty bad film.
more sedate,
Yeah.
more measured in her attitude towards
Adam Sandler's
others.
not really the best actor. Is
If
he?
one paid close enough attention,
Adam Sandler's a good actor. He just. Ugh.
others. If one paid close enough attention,
I think I'm gonna bring that close enough. Don't mind me.
towards others. If one paid close enough attention,
Just be Jim
one
Carrey
could
when he
still
burns
see-
himself in the.
if one paid
Ow, my fucking. Yeah. Oh, I missed this, I almost said contract. Comment. Famous people are practically under a demon's soul contract. Yes, indeed. Sparrow, do you know what happened to Romance? Like I said before, Romance was, basically just going through a hard time at the time, and she did do some things that were not, yeah, the best things to do. She got caught in time, and she's doing much better. I'm talking to her, and I've talked to her quite a few times since then. So, yeah, she's better. She'll be fine.
if one paid close enough attention, one could still see the utter loathing and disgust she harbored for her fellow ponies, but she still had become adept to hiding.
Oh, I remember. I messed up here. I think that is it right there. Adept. Okay. Bring this forward a little bit. See what that does.
Fellow ponies, but she had become adept at hiding her vitriolic hate.
Up. Clicks. Horse noise.
Horse noise.
Well, I do make horse noises a lot. I'm making horse noises right now. I'm making Octavia horse noises.
Her vitriolic hate.
Blast!
This was all before I was born, of course. No,
This was all before I was born, of course. Like, the first time I actually ever heard a British accent was when I saw Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone in theaters. I'm like, why do they talk funny?
Really?
You gotta think, this was 2002, so I was only 6, 7, 8 years old,
vitriolic hate.
so I didn't know there was different accents.
Vitriolic hate.
But for the British people
This was
watching,
all
as you
before I was
know,
born, of
it's
course,
called the Philosopher's
and it was
Stone.
only a
It's sorcerers over here.
I know,
this-
but like I said, the Americans can't be bothered saying philosophers. They're just.
This was all before I was born, of course,
It's
and it
kind
was
of like
only a
the
few years later
Zootropolis,
I'd been
Zootopia
conceived
kind of
that I learned
argument.
the truth. And it was only a few years later, after I'd been conceived,
Because
that
in the UK,
Oh yeah, I remember this.
it's called Zootropolis, where in the States, it's called Zootopia.
Yeah, and yeah, your things with the biscuits and the
Cookies.
God, crisps,
Yes.
crisps or chips.
Crisps or chips. Yeah.
born, of course. And it was only a few years later,
Tomato.
and it was
Ooh, that's gonna be a hard one to get. Ooh, man, that's right on the dialogue line. Can I get it? Let's find out. Hey, I can actually. Yay me! I'm a good audio producer.
Of course. And it was only a few years later, after I'd been conceived.
After I'd been conceived. God, I sound so royal.
I was born, of
You
course.
should be a bit
And it was
lower
only a
on the
few years
after.
later, after I'd been
After.
conceived, that I learned the truth. It was only after my mother
After
had
I've
given.
been so
I was born,
conceived.
of course. And it was only a few years later, after I'd been conceived, that I learned the truth. It was only after my mother had gifted me my first cello that I saw the twisted creature.
Cello?
I was born, of course. And it was only a few years later, after I'd been
Shallow.
conceived, that I learned the truth.
Shallow. Shallow.
It was only after my mother had gifted me my first cello that I saw the twisted creature Septima Melody had truly become behind closed.
Yeah, I can get rid of that. Oh boy, I think there's a pop here.
My first cello that I saw the twisted
that's a good
creature
question.
Septima Melody had
We
truly.
want to know.
No,
Who is
that-
your favorite pet in My Little Pony?
No, that was coming from your. That was coming from. That was coming from your end.
That I saw the twisted
know, it
creature
was from,
Septima Melody
Harmony
had truly
Convention.
become behind closed doors.
Yep.
They're asking
Oh,
what's-
hang on. Hold on.
Had truly become
They're
behind.
asking who's our favorite pet from My Little Pony. I don't know actually.
I don't see that.
No, it's on Twitter. It's on Twitter.
Oh. My favorite pet. Ooh, I gotta think about all of them.
I know. There's Winona, Gummy, Aloysius, Angel, Tank,
Opalescence.
Opalescence.
Right, Fluttershy has a lot of pets.
But her main pet is Angel.
If I had to
Angel
go,
Bunny.
if I had to go for my favorite, I would probably say
I
Tank.
never really thought of
Because
I never really
Tank,
thought
because Tank, and his, like, it made the best pet win. What his confidence to become Rainbow Dash's pet and his, his generosity towards Rainbow Dash, even after she had doubted him so many times.
Yeah.
He's a really cool pet. Opalescence is just a bitch.
That
I
I
thought he
saw
was
the
actually a
twisted
boy,
creature
to be honest.
Septima Melody had. That I saw the
You know,
twisted
one of those
creature
frou-frou
Septima
cats, one of those
Melody
boy
had truly become
cats, you know?
behind closed doors.
That's what I thought at first, but
The living
apparently it's a
nightmare.
girl.
The
So,
living
it's a queen.
nightmare my life would
So,
become.
Oh, we're on the last line. Yes, thank God.
But
The living
I
nightmare.
don't know. I haven't really thought of it. I haven't really thought of who my favorite pet would be.
I think Tank and Winona are my favorites. Gummy, sure, his dialogue was funny in that one episode, Slice of Life, but he's not really one of my
I kinda-
favorites.
Closed doors.
I think I kind of
The
like
living
Angel.
nightmare my life would become began with my mother.
Because
Her
of his
lessons.
personality. It's quite funny.
Okay,
And
here we,
especially,
okay,
and especially in Castlevania, you'll see why.
okay, hush.
Closed doors.
The
The living nightmare my life. Closed doors. The living nightmare my life.
Thomas!
Sorry.
Closed doors. The living nightmare my life would become began with my mother. Her last.
Up, there's a click. Ah, shit, bitch. Fuck. Who's my favorite villain? That's easy, Queen Chrysalis. Even though it may turn to Grogar.
The living
Oh.
nightmare my life would become began with my mother.
Currently, it is
Grogar.
Chrysalis. Currently, it is Chrysalis.
The living nightmare my life would become began with my mother. Her lessons. And that wonderful.
But it's a shame
Damnable.
they lost her echo effect on it.
Okay, stop. Okay, hush.
And that wonderful. Damnable. And that wonderful. Damnable. And that wonderful. Damnable. Cello.
Okay. Shut that up.
And that wonderful. Damnable. cello.
I can't tell what that is.
Damnable. Damnable.
There's a little click on the end, but I don't know how that's going to affect this. I don't think it's going to affect anything.
Damnable. Cello.
Oh, okay. Fuck off.
Damnable. Cello.
Okay, one more.
Cello.
Okay. And with that, one more silence. We are done with mistakes and all that shit. Alright. So, now I got to do something that I call basically equalizing the audio. Like,
You're all equal here.
what are your thoughts on Thorax? Depending on where his character goes from here forward, like from this season forward, like if he plays a big role, like he's okay. He's just they could have chosen a much better voice for him, or changed his voice when he became the leader of the Changeling Kingdom. You know, they could have done that. That would have been so much better. Oh fuck, I forgot. God damn it. Audacity? Be nice. Okay, save. Okay, what is this?
Since that horrible night.
Oh, this is the right part. Okay, let me show you a difference in the audio quality, guys. Okay, this was before. This was recorded like 3 weeks ago before I had my new mic set up. And here's what it sounds like.
Only this time, I did remember. And I continued to remember every single gruesome dream since that horrible night.
And now the new one.
My name is Octavia Melody, and like Twilight, I too have a story I wish to tell.
It sounds so much better. Okay, is the audio pretty equal? I don't think I was going to do anything until I had everything set to go, and I don't think that's why I've played with anything. That sounds wrong, but whatever.
Only this time, I did remember. End of Act 1. Interlude. Sunde de Mata. First movement. My
Oh.
name is Octavia Melody. Interlude. Sunde de...
Ah, I can get rid of some of those. This is the easy part, though. Yeah, the name of this chapter, oh my god. It's technically not even a chapter, it's like a break.
End of Act 1. Interlude. Sunde de Mata. First movement.
It is German.
My name is
Yeah.
Octavia Melody, and like Twilight,
Das ist Deutsch.
I too
Das
have a
ist
story I
Deutsch.
wish to tell.
Das ist German.
Yeah, I think that my plan here was to just wait until everything was done before I even touch, like, equalization. Because just by looking at it, the audio levels seem pretty similar. Like, if you just look at the blue stuff, you can tell there's a different. You can tell it's pretty much the same. Even though I think this one is just a teensy tiny bit lower. So I think what I'm gonna do.
End of Act 1.
Okay, first I'm gonna get the thing where it needs to be.
Interlude. Sunde de Mata.
Right there's fine. Alright, so we're just gonna give this a bit of an application. Let's see, it only needs to go up like, I would say 2. So let's do 2. And yay.
Yay!
His brother, I don't care for I don't care much for. Pharynx just seems to be a jerk towards him. Pharynx has very good... Pharynx has solid points, though.
You said you loved Pharynx.
He's not a jerk. He's being honest. Like in the episode, what's the name of the goddamn episode? To Change a Changeling? Oh, wow, that might be a little too high.
Yeah. Yeah, to change a changeling, I think. Yeah.
To Change a Changeling, he's basically making solid points that that they've gotten too comfortable. So, instead of protecting the hive and all that shit, they basically have made it so that they're more vulnerable. And when the thing that attacks their hive eventually comes along later on, yeah, he has a point. That's called brutal honesty and making your point. So Pharynx had good intent. Sure he was still a little leery to join the good guys, but he did have solid points. So therefore I kind of agree.
He got good intentions.
So therefore I agree with him. Okay. Oh yeah, that looks much better. Much better. All right, let's test the audio from this point to the
Every single
next point.
gruesome dream since that horrible night. End of Act 1. Interlude. Sunde de Mata. First movement. My name is Octavia Melody, and like Twilight, I too have a story I wish to tell.
So that's 2 chapters. 2 more. 2 more before I even change anything. Alright, save. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to export the whole thing so that I can be sure that it is safe. Okay, save that. Alright, just waiting. Okay, we want to make this chapter 9 and interlude. Okay, we don't want to put that there. We want to put that... I should create that as a yeah, I'm going to create another file. Okay. Folder. It's on the desktop, right? Yep. Hey, okay, there we go. That's much better. And boom. Okay, so while that's exporting, am I at coffee? Yes, I am. I may go back and do certain things. That would be way too early or way too late. I don't know. Maybe for these Sparrow Breeds things, I may change certain things. I don't know. I'm still... I don't know. I don't know. I really don't want to do that again, but... God, I don't know. Because I found in audiobooks, dramatic style is actually a thing. Like, you can actually have... you can actually do the dramatic style in audiobooks if you want. You can add ambience, but most of the time, sound effects are not needed. But in the Equestria Girls one that I mentioned, it actually is going to have 3 sound effects. So, I'm not sure when that one's coming out, don't even ask me. So, yeah. It'll be interesting. Let's just say that. Alright, let's see how... See, the stream is doing fine. So that's good. Alright, we're just gonna go upload this to Drive. Thomas, pay attention. You might need this for Saturdays. And you can learn how to upload files
I wrote it down.
Go to Drive, upload files.
Hang on a minute, hang on.
Just go.
Google Drive.
Hi. No, I mean you could just pay attention. Yeah, where I stored the files. So apparently I need to go back.
Yeah, that's what I do anyway. Yeah. If you
Yes.
upload the file, it goes into the thing.
T.
I can do that, no problem.
Okay, maybe if I can find it. No. Well, maybe. Oh wait, hang on. That's 3. That's 2. So this gotta be it. Yep. And ta-da! And then we wait for it to upload, which for me, it's gonna be pretty quick. Because, yeah, my internet is pretty quick. In terms of speed.
You didn't back in the day.
Yeah, to upload like a 40-minute video, it took it like 2 hours.
2 hours.
Like 2.5 hours. I hope you guys are freaking happy. I'm just kidding, guys. It's no big deal. It's just a bit annoying. So we got the fiber optic internet. Oh my god, huge difference. Like this file you're seeing right here would have taken with my old internet at least probably about an hour, 30, 45 minutes, somewhere around that area to upload. Just to Google Drive. So yeah. Oh, I guess I can get rid of this now. Don't need it anymore. Remove. Only thing I wish that Drive would do is I like that it does save the files before it completely just gets rid of them, but I wish that when you deleted something it kind of went bye-bye. In some cases it's good, in some cases it's not good. Alright, so that's done. Make sure. Oh yeah, that's right. I'm gonna edit that prior when I get everything good to go. So recent, see if it got to the file just fine. It did. Good. Alright, so just close that. And with that, I think I am going to be calling this stream to a close. I will look at the chat just to see if there was anything that I might have missed. In your next narration stream, could you read The Woman of the Woods? I'll give you another donation in that stream. If you just remind me, then yeah, I'd be more than happy to read it. I just need to get the timing, and I just need to get the people to, I just get to need someone like Reborn or maybe even Luna Farrow to join in on me. Or, oh my god, to join in the stream. So, we'll see. Might be the next week, might be the next day. We'll see. Depends on when things get to when they get to. So, I guess we'll see then. Alright. So anyways, I'm gonna get my words correct before I do shit. And yeah, I'm gonna call this stream to a close. Thank you guys for joining me. And yeah, I will talk to you all later. Happy horrors until the next stream, and take care and stay safe until the next time. Bye-bye!
Bye!